Well, I want to ask, where does your codependency stem from? Now that you've done this research and you've really started to peel back
Yeah.
the layers, where does this kind of...
Well, I believe it starts in our childhood when we are around our parents, okay, or any influencing adults in our life. All right. We are seeing different behaviors. We're seeing their patterns of how they interact with each other. And my mother was very controlling. So she was the controlling aspect of my parents' codependent relationship. My father was very passive aggressive. So there's typically in a codependent relationship, there's someone who's very controlling and very overbearing, and they can sit in Codependence Anonymous and learn a lot as well. But then there's the other side, who's the one who's they call it helping somebody. They're enabling them. That's the word, enabling. They're enabling them to do the things that they do, like making excuses for them to not show up when they really should be showing up. So they're enabling them to have bad behavior and not be accountable. And the other side of it is the controlling side, where they're making, saying you need to do this. They're very controlling about what gets done. So that was the situation that I saw with my parents. My mother was the very controlling woman, very strong woman, and my dad was very passive aggressive. Yes, dear. Yes. Okay, honey. Yes, dear. Right. So he was, whatever you want, dear, that person. So I became that person. Okay, let me be the placater, the one that tries to, let's all get along. Let's, love each other and have, be happy all the time. And no, let's not have any arguments or yelling, because that just hurt my spirit.
Wow.
So
Do you have brothers and sisters, or are you an only child?
I have 3 sisters, and I think everybody gets impacted differently. I really do. I think that, not everybody is as sensitive as I think. People that are codependent are super sensitive people. From what in my experience of sitting in those rooms for years and listening to people's stories, what I believe is that the people that are codependent are super sensitive. So if somebody yells at them, it just puts a whole damper on their spirit and just takes them to a place of, like maybe guilt and shame even.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, if somebody's praising them, it lifts their spirit and makes them feel great. So a person who's super sensitive like that, in my opinion, needs to learn how to protect themselves, set boundaries, so that if somebody says something to them that is demeaning or diminishing in their spirit, they can have a boundary that just lets it bounce off. They don't need to take it in. They don't need to absorb that into their spirit and their soul and their essence. They can just have that just reflect back to the person that's doing it, because it really belongs to that person. It doesn't belong to them, right? So if you can set yourself up with boundaries, and some, spiritual people will say, surround yourself with white light and don't let anything into that white light. Like if somebody's, saying something negative to you, see it come in and let that, it's energy, right? Just see it as energy. So allow this energy to just filter in and transmute into positive energy. So whether they might be projecting some kind of harsh energy toward you, you can see it transmute and become positive energy by the time it reaches you, and then let it lift you up. And then so somebody might be yelling at you and you might be smiling at them going, wow, thanks. That was a great boost of energy. I needed that. And then of course the person that's really angry might get even more angry.
Yeah.
It's all there, right? It belongs to them. So it's not you, it doesn't belong to you. So it's all
What
good.
do you think about what Kristen's saying here?
I almost feel like this is the catalyst. Oh yes, becoming an empath. Yes, I believe that probably most everyone in those rooms, the Codependence Anonymous rooms, or anybody that identifies comes out of denial and realizes that, yeah, I'm a codependent, is an empath. I really believe that, because they are sensitive. Okay, so I'm happy to say that I did go through 2 marriages and have 2 kids on each one of them and go through those 2 divorces. I'm really happy to say that I am in a relationship that is my happily ever after. Okay, so it does happen, right? You can get there. My happily ever after is also an empath. And so he can walk into a room and know how everybody's feeling.
Mhm.
He can feel the energy in a room. When he walks into the room, he can go, oh, bad stuff happened in here. Okay, so I mean, he's that sensitive.
Yeah.
He can look at a photograph of somebody and go and really pick up on the energy of that person in that photograph. So it's amazing how an empath can, I don't know, just totally pick up on another person's energy and let that get into their aura and essence and affect them. It's very difficult for him to go into crowds because he feels everybody's energy. So one of the things that I've kind of encouraged him to do is to learn how to put that protective energy around you, put that bubble around you,
Yeah.
so that when you are out in public, any energy that's coming at you or you're sensing around the room is transmuted into a positive vibration. By the time it hits your energy field, you're like, yeah, I can deal with this now, because I'm not feeling like overwhelmed with sadness or grief or anger or angst. I'm feeling that energy that by the time it gets to me, it's transmuted into a lift, and I can deal with
Definitely.
it. Yeah.
Definitely. I want to ask you a question, and I hope this isn't too personal.
Okay.
But when you said that, so you and I talked obviously
Yes. Yes.
before
Yes.
this, and you may or may not have mentioned that your significant other is an empath.
Yeah.
So my fiance is also an empath.
Okay.
And my question is, I had this issue when we first started dating. So I'm just curious if you had this issue. My issue was I was so used to abrasive men
Oh
my
wow.
entire life. And
Mm-hmm.
when I met him and got involved with him, I knew internally, like, this is a good person. Like, this is the type of person I should be with. This is
Yes.
what a healthy relationship looks like. But I really struggled internally with what a man is supposed to look like, what a man is supposed to act like, because they are softer people. Did
Yes.
you have any issues with that internally? Not that it was like a whole thing, but did you
Yeah.
have any of those, or were you just done
Well,
and you're like, this is what I need?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was a really neat meeting him, because our eyes connected instantly. It was like, hello. It was one of those very special moments that I'll never forget. But what I found was, because I had been a single parent for so long,
Mhm.
I was so used to taking control of situations, like, going to the store and getting things done and talking to can you tell us where this is? Can you tell us where that is? Or opening and closing my own door. And I mean, I was very independent because I'd been single for so long and had to be both the mother and the father and the man and the woman as a parent. So for me, I had to learn how to be the woman in the relationship.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I can
So
relate to that.
that was a challenge for me. So, he'd point out, like, hey, this is my role here. Like, oh yeah, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, that's right. Okay. I'd never had a man in my
Yeah.
life before, truly. I remember my dad was very much the man in the relationship with my mom. I mean, he was the provider and all that kind of stuff, but I'd never been married to a man that was a provider. I was always the provider in my family. So,
Wow.
yeah, so having always been in that role, it was a big shift to, like, oh, wow, I can relax now. I can be the woman in this relationship, as opposed to the man and the making sure that everything gets done. And I could just drop all that and relax
Relax.
and be the female in the
Yes.
relationship.
Yes. How long did that take you? Was that pretty quick shift for you, or did that take some time?
I don't know. We've got about 4 years in our relationship right now. So I'd say it was maybe a year to really to get it completely all settled, dialed in. Yeah, because I mean, little things would come up and I go, oh yeah, that's right, that's not my role. Oh gosh.
Can we read this? This is good.
Sure, go ahead.
Sabrina, I feel you. I tend to bulldoze over men now and get bored because I'm so used to the vibrato, overly alpha male, that I connected as a man. Anyone nice was fake. See, that's the issue that I had. And exactly what Barbara is saying, I'm still learning to tap into my divine femininity and stepping into my feminine side.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I get that. So yeah, you can you can be the alpha female, but then that role, being in that role, takes so much energy.
It really does.
Right? And if we can step back and relax into what is, I don't know, divinely coming through us, like you said, your divine femininity, let that come through you and be the lover in the relationship, not the
I
fighter.
wonder if it's so draining for us. I love that you said that, because I wonder if it's so draining for us because it's not authentically who we are.
I think so. It takes so much energy to that male. We have to let that male energy come through, right? And push
Yes.
us to be that aggressive, because it is an aggressive state, and that's men's natural thing is protect, right? Protect our women, provide for the woman, to take care of the woman. And as a female going into that role, it's draining. It is draining.
Yes. Oh, I love that you said that. Absolutely. I do want to talk. You mentioned a tidbit about your past story. Can you kind of explain, your past relationships and kind of, what they looked like and how they were different, but yet the same?
Yeah, sure. Well, it was interesting being married and having two children, being married and having two children. It's like, okay, that's definitely a do-over, right? In the wrong direction. But okay, I was married for 6 years to my first husband. We had two children, and it was a girl and a boy, 6 years apart in age. And our marriage fell apart when my youngest was 9 months old. So I was there being a single parent. My first husband was an alcoholic. So I was the codependent enabler.
Yes.
So I was enabling him to not, he wasn't working, all that kind of stuff. And I was supporting the family, even it's like, how do you do that?
Wow.
Get pregnant and have it and support the family, but you figure out a way when it's you.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting divorced, and I stayed separated, single for 11 years. I know. For
Wow.
11 years I'm single, and I'm all this time going to classes and trying to learn and everything, and I'm thinking that because I'm still in denial, right? That it's me. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still in denial that I need to change.
Yes.
I was the good wife.
Yes. Yes.
I was the one. I supported the family. I, took care of the kids. I made sure there was food on the table. I had a roof over our heads. I mean, I was the good person. So what's the problem here? So yeah. So I'm still thinking I'm growing, but I'm not really growing in the direction that I need to, because I had nothing wrong. I wasn't doing anything wrong. So I end up in the next marriage, and man, this guy was really narcissistic, but I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what narcissism was. I hadn't done any personal development myself, so I didn't, wasn't aware of these things. Anyway, he was also very verbally abusive. I didn't know what that was. And so there I am. I got pregnant with him. We ended up with a boy and a girl. So now I've got 4 kids, but my 2 older ones were pretty much grown up by the time, because of those 11 years in between. Yeah, so they were pretty much grown up, and now I've got my daughter had moved out by this time, but I have my son and my 2 little ones, and I'm still supporting the family. Like, what is wrong with this woman? Okay, so no, but I'm doing it. I'm supporting the family, and getting everything, making sure everything's running smooth. And oh my gosh, it's exhausting doing this, but like I said, it was going through that second divorce with that attorney. If he hadn't said, hey, you might try this 12-step thing called Codependence Anonymous, I would still be swimming in that same soup, because I was in denial that there was anything wrong with me. I was the one that put the food on the table, put the roof over their heads, kept everything running. I got the kids off to school. I was like, wow. I just did it all. And I was not seeing my part in it. And I think that's the thing that, people that are codependent and they're the enabler side of it, it's like very hard to see our part in it, because we're such good people and we want the best for everybody and we try to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to see where's my part, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
So what did we do wrong is we enabled the other person to not do anything right.
Yeah.
Right?
Or do anything at all sometimes.
Or do anything at all.
Yeah.
Exactly. We help them to continue to be who they were, which was an unhealthy person, and didn't put any boundaries up and show them the door and say, hey, no, this isn't going to work. We just went with the flow and kept doing it all and exhausting ourselves. And the word martyr comes up. I mean, we think of ourselves as martyrs because we're doing what we feel is the right thing. But the truth is, we need to sit back and relax into our femininity and really generate, if you will, the energy of love in our environment and bring people into that and let them. Here's the thing, okay? We need to let the men be the man in the relationship.
Yeah.
If we keep wearing the pants, then they can't.
Yeah.
Okay? So we have to stop and let them.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things that my daughter just recently got married. Well, she's been married for a couple of years now. But, I said to her, I said, honey, if you want him to be the man, you have to let him.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, so you just need to back up because she's like strong woman, right?
I love it.
And like, sweetheart, you just gotta take it down a couple of notches and let him be the man. He can't be the man if you don't let him.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're always trying to get in there. So you said you fell into Codependence Anonymous right after your second marriage.
Yeah.
So
right after it ended.
Got it. So you kind of started working on yourself.
Yeah.
At that point, that's when you really.
That's when a lot of changes happen. Well, first of all, like I said, it took me 6 months of sitting in those meetings before I realized that, oh yeah, I can identify with every one of these things. Yep, that's me. I do that. Oh yeah, that's it too.
Oh, wow.
But first I was in denial of that, so it took a while just to acknowledge that. And then one of the things about 12-step is you're supposed to get a sponsor to help you walk through the steps, right? Okay, because there was an issue of where I felt very betrayed by my mother when I was a kid. There was a betrayal, and I'm not exactly sure how that all worked out, but it was there. So I had a distrust of women, and because I distrusted women, it took me, and in 12-step, you get a sponsor of the same sex as you don't go with a sponsor of a different sex. Okay, so it took me 3 years of sitting in those meetings before I finally went, okay, I can trust that woman enough to be my sponsor.
Wow.
Yeah. So here's the thing though. Okay. Because I sat in that meeting for 3 years and didn't get a sponsor, and I saw other people come into that meeting and they did get a sponsor, I realized that having a sponsor made a huge difference in the speed that people healed and grew and moved on with their life. So I saw people get their sponsor, work the 12 steps, finish the 12 steps, and then they were transformed. And I'm like, dang, that could be me. But no, I wasn't ready yet. It took me 3 years. But that was it. I didn't trust women at all because I'd had several times in my life where I'd been betrayed by women and I just couldn't trust them. But in the end, I now have a love for women that I didn't have before, and an appreciation, that I didn't have before. So, yeah.
That must be so nice.
Yeah.
That must be so nice. Hey, are those rooms predominantly women?
Well, no, actually, the one that I was in for a good 4 years was men and women.
No kidding.
It was so great. The most amazing thing is you sit in those meetings and you hear somebody walk in. I could not believe it when this happened to me. A man walked in, and I think he was only in that meeting one time, but he shared and he goes, yeah, I was married and had 2 kids and I got divorced, and then I got married again and I had 2 kids and then I got divorced, and my mouth, what? I couldn't believe he was sharing my story.
Yes.
Happen, if you're in those rooms long enough, somebody's going to walk in and share your exact story, and you could just be blown away. What's great about it is you realize that you're not alone. Number one, there's other people out there that have walked through with you or like you, and that there is recovery. There is another side to it. You can get to the other side. You can have a healthy relationship. And, when you're first getting in there, I was so broken. Every time I went for the first 6 months, I cried at every meeting. I was just like, oh my God, my life is just, I'm broken. I'm flatlining here. I need some life support. And that's what each meeting was a little life support, but I was so broken when I first got there. I couldn't even share. I couldn't share what was going on with me. It took me 6 months before I finally opened up and shared that I was going through a divorce and stuff. So it's such a valuable thing to do, to go to those meetings. And honest to goodness, they charge $1. They don't even charge. They ask for a donation.
$1
on the meeting. So it's like, there's nothing holding you back from going to those meetings. If you don't have a ride, somebody in the group will come pick you up. It's like there should be nothing holding you back from reaching out and getting into one of those 12-step groups. And if you don't have transportation and you live in a remote city, you can even get online, because they have online meetings. So I highly recommend, if you are feeling alone and you're feeling discouraged and you're feeling like life isn't going to ever get better, get into one of those Codependence Anonymous meetings. You can go online and do a Google search. You'll find them right away. And you will meet the most beautiful people ever.
I bet.
Right?
I bet.
They're all loving, compassionate, sensitive people that are there with wide open hearts. And they may have, just gotten there, so they might still be broken, but then there'll be the ones that have been there for a while, that have the courage and the strength and the hope that you need to see in their eyes. When you go in the meeting, you can tell that they've been through it, that they know what you're going through, and that they got to the other side of it. And that's your courage, strength, and hope that you get in those meetings. It's wonderful.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. To tell you the honest truth, I had heard of, at some point in my life, Codependence Anonymous, but maybe once, until I met you.
Oh, wow.
And when I had heard about it, I didn't even know, at that point in my life, I didn't know what the word meant. Like, I was still kind of in the dark. Yeah. So I was just like, I related it to just Alcohol Anonymous. I thought maybe it was just another strand of like some sort of substance abuse something. But yeah, once I met you, and then I knew what codependency meant, it all kind of flowed together. And this is so great. And this is what this platform teaches, is like, it's building upon the foundation of, so each time, like, already just speaking to you, I've already picked up nuggets of information. Like, you never know all the things ever.
Right. Yeah.
So it's so important to continue to like plug in to other people, other people's stories, other people's education, and the stuff that they're working on, to be able to help yourself grow, and become more comfortable being authentically you, as you are, because it really starts to get you to unravel, who you are and why you are the way you are.
I agree completely. Yeah, it's so important. Here's the thing I think about that, is that we're all different. We learn in different ways. We're, maybe we're auditory, maybe we're kinesthetic, maybe we're visual learners. We're going to hear something. And that's why I said, this is my prayer for this session, is that somebody hears something that is that catalyst. They go, yes, that's it. I want to do that. Or yes, I believe in that. Maybe I can make that change, something that is that catalyst for them to latch on to, that works for them. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.